Today, we're going to talk about absolutely the most important document in your real estate career and how to fill it out, the residential listing agreement. Let's go. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're brand new here, my name is April Nossel. I'm a real estate broker and mortgage loan broker in Northern California, and this channel is about all things real estate. Please be sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Now let's get started. We're talking about the residential listing agreement and how to fill it out. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen with you so you can see everything that I do to fill out my listing agreement. However, I will say talk to your broker in case they have some specific way that they want it filled out. You want to be in compliance with your broker. But this is just an added little video to show you how I do it. If you're completely new to real estate, you might just want to see how the process is and what terms you might want to include. All right, so here's our residential listing agreement. This form is specific for California, comes straight from the California Association of Realtors. We only use CAR forms here in my brokerage and specific local disclosures, but for the most part, just CAR forms. So I'm going to skip ahead so that we kind of protect the privacy of this client. This is a listing agreement that I took back in November. So we're just going to put the date prepared at the top. We're going to put the client's name here, which we've blocked out. You're going to put your brokerage name here on the broker line, obviously. The beginning date of your listing agreement and the ending date. I take my listings for 6 months at a time. Fill in the address, city, county, zip code, APN, all the obvious things that go in these spots. If it's a manufactured home, of course, you're checking this box. If it's in probate, you're going to check this box here. Listing price and terms. When you fill in the listing price here, it's going to auto-populate the written form of that price. On this particular listing, I was offering a discounted commission should they also get a mortgage through me. So any other listing terms that you might want to include, you're going to put here. Sometimes I'll put at the time of sale, seller to reimburse me for staging costs or something to that effect. If you've got anything kind of unique to your listing agreement, you're going to put it in this listing terms section here, just like a free spot to fill that in. Down here in the broker compensation, generally you're not going to want to have 4.5%. This was through an online lead source where I have an agreement to take listings at a reduced commission. So yes, I did that here, but I obviously don't recommend that. If you want to do a flat rate listing price, you're going to put that here, which sometimes I do like for land deals where the sales price isn't going to be very much. So I just want to take a flat amount. Down here, we're going to put in a certain number of days. These days here is after the end of your listing agreement. Should anybody that you showed the property to during your agreement go back and write an offer to purchase, say 25 days after your listing expires, you're still protected with this days in here to be able to get your commission for that buyer because they came through during the time of your listing. So this one is important. Scrolling down, this is the amount of the commission that is going to go to the buyer's agent. Because I was taking it at such a reduced rate, I passed on some of that reduction to the buyer's agent and offered a 2%, which is still within a normal range in my area. You don't really want to go below that. I guess that would be specific to your area. I've heard in some places, and of course with the new pending litigation that's going on with buyer broker commissions, we might start seeing 0 right here, but that's a whole other video. On this line here, if they've been previously in a listing agreement with any other brokerage, you're going to want to include that here. and the cancellation date of that listing agreement. Additional items excluded, for example, if there's a chandelier that is a family heirloom and they intend to take it with them, first of all, I would recommend that you have them remove it prior to listing, but if not, then you're going to want to put something in the listing agreement here that is not included. Additional items included. Sometimes I use this line like on a probate sale or a trustee sale, where we just want to include all the personal property that's in the house and make it easier for the sellers to be able to process the sale of the property and not have to deal with all the minutia of clearing out the property. So sometimes we'll put that here. Any other items included, like a hot tub, for example, that would go here if they don't want to take that with them. Any leased items, you're going to check here. And in our area, a lot of times we have propane tanks, so that's a normal one that we check. Solar panels, we often check. Same thing, liened items. Obviously, you're going to check whatever there's a lien against the house for. Smart home features that are included or excluded from the sale. Section 5, this is about your MLS. So you're going to fill in whatever your particular MLS happens to be. Mine is MetroList. If you're taking a listing that's outside of your service area, you're going to check this box here. So for example, I did a transaction last year for an investor client of mine. He wanted a property put on market. However, I didn't have access to the MLS that the property was in. He was aware of that, but he was okay with it. It was just a quick, cheap sale, so it didn't need a ton of marketing. He was fine with it being in an outside area, but we did check this box. This section is just initialing that they're aware of the benefits of using the MLS and what it could mean if you opt out of the MLS. Clear cooperation policy. This is also a whole other video. It's kind of complicated and it can result in a lot of fines if not done properly. So I don't know of any instance where clear cooperation is not required in California, but if you know of anything, please drop it in the comments below. I always love to kind of mastermind with other brokers and agents and hear what situations you've had come up in unique situations that I'm just not aware of. But to my knowledge, clear cooperation does always apply, which of course is the requirement that we market publicly, not just to our own clients, and keep it private so that we can try to double in the deal. I'm not going to read all of the fine print of this contract. In order to discuss each point, it would take several hours, but I just want to get to the blanks and exactly how I fill out those blanks. And then I do definitely recommend, though, that you read it line by line and that you go through every section of every piece of the contract, because you really want to know if somebody has a question about it. You don't want to be caught off guard about what that question is discussing. The listing agreement date is your on-market date unless otherwise put here. Or if for some reason the seller does not want the property to be marketed publicly, they can check that here. But of course, there's more documentation that goes along with that. Again, clear cooperation policy does not apply. I'm not sure where this would happen, but if that were the case, you would check this box here. Seller elects to opt out of certain internet features as provided by CAR form SELI or the local equivalent form. If a seller doesn't want their property to be syndicated out to sites like Zillow and Realtor.com, or doesn't want the address disclosed, you would check this box here. If you're planning on reviewing offers at a certain time because you expect to have multiple offers, you're going to check this box here and put in the date and the time that the offers are going to be presented. Otherwise, you're just going to present them as you receive them within a reasonable amount of time. Some people feel like this needs to be immediately as soon as you receive an offer, but that's not necessarily true. You just need to have an efficient amount of time that you're going to provide the offer over to your client. I tend to email them over directly, just forward the offer directly, and then set up a time that we're actually going to discuss and formally present an offer. This section here is about buyer love letters. So the contract automatically defaults to not allowing buyer love letters, or as they call them here, just buyer letters. But if the seller does specifically want to see buyer letters, then you would check this box here. I don't advise that you do this. I advise that your seller makes a business decision in this situation. They're not going to have a long-standing relationship with the person, most likely, that is buying their property. So they probably shouldn't be making an emotional decision with such a large investment. Not to mention the fact that fair housing laws can be violated by these letters. So it's just generally not a good idea. If your seller has agreed to do certain inspections prior to the marketing of the property, you're going to check that here. The contract defaults to 5 days. You can fill in a different amount of days, and then you're going to check whatever inspections you're recommending for them to do. Allowing pictures to be included on the MLS. If they don't want their pictures on the MLS, you would check this box here. I can't imagine any situation where that would be beneficial, but that box is there just in case. If the seller does not want a lockbox, you would check that here. Again, I don't usually check that. Usually always want a lockbox. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to see the property and thus write an amazing offer on it. Same thing with the sign. If they want to opt out of having a sign in front of their property, you would check this box. If there's any other special listing terms that you need to include additional documentation for, you're going to check those here. So if it's an REO, if it's a short sale, if it's in a trust, if they need a contingency for a replacement property, you're going to check these boxes here. For our systems, it automatically populates the additional form. So checking these boxes will just make the process easier for us to get documentation filled out. This section here allows you to disclose if there's anybody else that might be on title that is not going to be on the listing agreement and why they're not on the listing agreement. I should have noted earlier that the bottom of every page is getting initialed by the seller. We've blocked out this information here to protect, again, the privacy of our seller and her email here. The entity seller section is if it's in a trust, you would put that information in here, or if it's an LLC, you put that information here. If it's in probate, here's the case number. But then other than that, down here at the bottom of the listing agreement, we just have the client's information, the brokerage and agent information. And if you're working with another broker on it, you would check this box. And that is the end of the residential listing agreement. It's really not as scary and overwhelming as it seems, but it is, of course, the most important document that we fill out, because this is where we make the money. We make the money in the listings. You get a listing, you get a buyer with that, or potentially 2 more buyers and another listing, because one of those buyers might have a house to sell as well. So you need to know how to fill out the listing agreement. If you have any questions, please drop it in the comments below. You can also always DM me over on Instagram at April_Nossel. I will get back to every single DM and comment that I receive. I want you to be wildly successful in real estate, and I am here for you no matter what help you might need. Hope you all have a wonderful day and hope this was super helpful for you. Until next time, happy selling.